What we're going to be discussing is work ethics and why work ethics are in the technical colleges. And I want to go ahead and tell you who put them in the technical college. It was not the instructors. It was not the State Department. It was employers. They said they were getting a lot of students that were really well trained, but they didn't have work ethics. So who can tell me exactly what work ethics is? Who can tell me part of what work ethics is? Now, I know my group can talk more than this. What's work ethics?
Teamwork.
Teamwork's one of the things. What else?
Honesty.
Honesty. Appearance. What else? Attitude. Why are employers wanting to know that about you? They can know who they're hiring. That's exactly right. What percent of people do you think lose their jobs because of work ethics? This is not layoffs when we don't have enough work. This is talking about people that are removed from their job. What percentage are removed from their job because of work ethics?
Like not showing up on time.
I'll bet
70%.
70%, 50%. Anybody else want to take a guess? 80% of the people that are removed from their jobs is not because they do not have the skills to do their job. It's because of work ethics. So what we're going to discuss today is what is work ethics. And the first thing I want to tell you, and every instructor does this differently, but every week there is I call them the hit words. There is a word that applies to work ethics. We have them on the wall. You'll see them on the boards in classes. You'll do some sort of activity. I think in child care, y'all keep yours in a notebook and then hand it in at the end of the quarter. In cosmetology, I ask you to do it and hand it in to me every week. But you will get a grade on your transcript. Every course you take will have your A, B, C, D, or F, whatever you made in class. It's also going to have a number outside of it. A 1, 2, 3, or a 0. And at the bottom of your transcript that employers can request a copy of is a legend of what those numbers mean. 2 means you meet expectations. That's fine. That means that you showed up. You didn't go above and beyond, but you showed up and you did your work and you got along with everybody. 3 means that you exceeded. That might mean that you stayed some in the afternoon to do extra work, or you went out of your way to help your classmates, or you took more responsibility than other people, or you was extra productive. A 1 on there means that you did not meet expectations, that you need some improvement in an area. And a 0 means that your work ethics are totally unacceptable. They're not figured into your GPA, but they are out there for employers to see with that legend. Now, the first thing I want to do is find out why you're coming to school. Why did you decide to sign up to come to school? You decided you want to get an education. Change careers. How many of you come because you want to do a little better? Maybe you're not making the money you want to make. Maybe you're doing something you're unhappy with. Some of y'all come to school for that reason. How about to gain promotions? Achieve greater results? Make more money? That sends you to school? To become a leader? In the business world, there's 3 easy, simple steps to achieve all that. To be in the upper 50% of your class, there's only one thing you have to do. Anybody want to tell me what that is? That's right. That's exactly right. Show up. To be in the upper 50% of your class, all you have to do is show up. That can be in your unit, your company team. Tests have shown that 50% of employed people today fail to show up for work on a regular basis. That is, they are not responsible. They cannot be trusted or depended upon to show up. Many excuses are given, and remember the word again, excuses. The car won't start. They feel bad. Their spouse, child, aunt, mother, next door neighbor, or whatever got sick. They forgot to go. They needed to run errands. They needed to get an auto license, out-of-town gas. They had bad weather. So reliability is important. But how many of us only want to be in the top 50%? How many of you would like to be in the top 30%? We don't have any aspiring here for great success. How many wants to be in the top 30%? Let's hear it. What does it take then to move on up from the top 50 and go to the top 30? Only one simple thing you have to do to be in the top 30. What is it? It gets a little harder as we move up the ladder, don't it? Nobody want to take a stab at it? To be in the top 30%, all we have to do is be on time. So that's telling us that 70% of the people do not show up for work on time. They're there. Sometimes they're on time, many times they're on time. But they're employed, expected, and paid to be on time all the time. Suppose you were an airline pilot, a teacher, a speaker, the custodian who unlocks the building, a merchant who opens the building to the public. It's important to show up on time. We get many excuses. Traffic, flat tire, hangover, overslept, train across the road, clock stop, missed the ride, or bus or train or plane or boat or whatever. So dependability does earn dividends. So we have found out to be in the top 50, we have to show up. To be in the top 30, we have to be on time. What does it take to be in the top 20? Let's go on to the top. If we're going to set a goal, let's set it on up there. What do we have to do to be in the top 20? To be in the top 20, all we have to do is be ready to go. What does it mean to be ready to go when we get to work?
Be prepared.
Be prepared. How are you prepared when you come into the classroom in the morning?
Have bread.
Got your books, your pencil and paper, the other things you're going to need. You got your hair done, your makeup on, you've already drank your coffee, all that. Is that what it's talking about? That's exactly what it's talking about. The winners, the real leaders, show up on time, ready to go. They are clear-headed, alive, alert, fully dressed, fed, made up, manicured, and prepared. Their flight charts are ready. That means they're organized. One of y'all said organized a while ago. Their lesson plan or speech is thought out. Their route, their day is planned. They know what they want to accomplish and how they're going to do it. The world moves aside, makes a way for the person who knows what he or she wants and moves confidently towards it. So it is performance that counts. And what we're going to talk about today is how you're graded, what these things are, why they're important. And the first thing we've got to understand is ethics means different things to different people, and we were all brought up with a different set of ethics or values or goals. In some houses, it was very important that you took a bath every night before you went to bed. In some houses, that wasn't important. You could get up and bathe the next morning if you wanted to. Some homes, it's real important that you attend school every day, even if you're sick. How many of y'all ever felt like Mama sent you to school when you were sick? That was an important thing, though, wasn't it? She sent you out thinking you were sick. How many times did she really send you when you were really sick, though? Didn't do that, did you? A lot of emphasis put on school. So ethics means different things to different people depending on their beliefs, their backgrounds, their religion, their experience, their training, and their personal style. A lot of people think that they are good enough at their job that if they miss work, their employer is not going to do anything about it because they can't find anybody as good as they are at their job. And that may be true that they don't find anybody as good. But what is the best, to have somebody that's pretty good at a job, that's there every day, that the employer can depend on, or somebody that's excellent and they can't depend on them? Which one is the employer going to choose? Somebody who is dependable, because that employer hires you to be there every day. So that's where we're going with these work ethics. I'm going to go over the top 10 words, and we're going to discuss what they mean. And they're called the 10 desirable employee traits that are targeted to assure that these objectives are met. And the reason we do it, and I argue about this, I'll go ahead and tell you, and I do work ethics orientation every quarter for my students and usually for some other classes too, and I argue that this is no place for them. Work ethic should be at home before you start to pre-K, and maybe in pre-K and kindergarten. I kind of think that it's a little late. But my superior disagrees with that, and therefore I teach them. And hopefully it will call your attention to it. And sometimes I need to be reminded of ethics, so you can call this a reminder if nothing else. This morning when the alarm went off, I was not ready to get up, and I'll tell you the truth, I started to call in sick. And I've got sick leave just piling out everywhere because I never do that. Because I have learned if I do that one time, the second time is going to be a lot easier. And the third time gets even easier. Now I've got some of these excuses, and I know how to do it, and I know what the reaction on the end of the phone is going to be. And after that, it becomes a habit. And they tell me it's a habit you can't break. I'm not going to take that first chance. I'll tell you, I have been here 27 and a half years, and I have called in sick one time in 27 and a half years. I had food poisoning. I was truly sick. My husband was thinking about calling the undertaker because he could not believe I was calling in sick. Now, that doesn't mean I haven't missed other days. I've had deaths in the family and accidents. I have to be out occasionally. But that calling in sick, I'll have students call me and say, I just don't feel good this morning. I think to myself, no, and I didn't either. You know, sometimes we just don't feel good in the mornings. We get up and get to moving, we get to feeling better. So the first thing we're going to talk about is attendance. Attendance, for you to get your 2 on it, means that you attend class, arrive and leave on time, notifies instructor in advance of planned absences, and makes up the assignments punctually. It's not up to an instructor when you miss to chase you down to take the test that was in class that day while you were out. It's up to you to go to them. And all of us have posted office hours. Employers also have that. If you've missed some work while you're at work, they don't want to chase you down to do your work. They're paying you to do that work. And if they want to do it themselves, they might as well fire you and take your paycheck and theirs. Number 2 is character. And this kind of goes along with attendance. And I'll have students sometime that'll come in, and I'll let them grade themselves on these at mid-quarter and then come in and discuss it with me. But character displays loyalty, honesty, trustworthiness, dependability, reliability, initiative, self-discipline, and self-responsibility. And you may say, how does it go along with attendance? Well, if you were absent without an excuse, you need to say that. Take responsibility. That's self-responsibility. If you keep being absent, you're not very dependable. You're not very reliable. You're not very trustworthy. And if you're making up excuses, you're not very honest either, are you? So to me, they go hand in hand. If you deserve a 0 in attendance, then you definitely deserve a 0 in character. Number 3 is teamwork. And again, this goes back to attendance. And especially in classes like child care and cosmetology. If I have a student who is on the book and has clients on the book and they don't show up, there sits those 2 clients waiting to get their hair fixed or whatever. Who's going to have to do their hair? Other students. But those other students already have their clients. They already have their work for the day. So when you leave them holding your clients, were you thinking of them very much? You wasn't a very good team player, were you? So coming in at number 3 is teamwork. That means you respect the rights of others. You're a team worker. You're cooperative. You're assertive. You display a customer service attitude. You seek opportunities for continuous learning and display a mannerly behavior. Number 4 is appearance. Do y'all have a special dress code in child care? You don't know yet? I know y'all are new. What about when you start working with the children? Does dress code change a little bit? Don't y'all have to wear long sleeve uniform tops? and it's got to be long sleeve. Do you know why that is? Anybody want to take a guess at it? It's not work ethics, but it's work ethics if you don't wear it because it's regulation. Do y'all know why? Children bite. You're going to be handling the children with your arms. There's probably several other reasons. But they don't want them biting your skin. Is that for your protection? Somewhat. It's protect the kid too, and theirs. It's for everybody's protection. So it's vitally important that your appearance is what it should be when you work. So appearance means you display appropriate dress, grooming, hygiene, and etiquette. My students do not have to wear long sleeves. Matter of fact, I recommend that they don't because they get so hot. They're standing there with the blow dryers and the hot curling irons and the stoves heating up the thermal irons and hair dryers going in the back. I do recommend that they wear some form of sleeve. So appearance, different appropriate dress for different departments you're in. Number 5 is attitude. What is attitude?
Outlook.
Your outlook on life. What makes people have a poor attitude or a bad attitude? How do they act when they have a bad attitude? Mean. Hateful. What do you think makes them that way? They don't feel good about themselves. And they don't want you to feel too good about yourself either, do they? So attitude means you demonstrate a positive attitude, that you appear self-confident, have realistic expectations of self. And oftentimes those people that have a bad attitude don't think they can accomplish anything. They don't expect that they can do anything. And therefore they just stay angry all the time instead of deciding, let me try this. And if I don't succeed at it to start with, what should your attitude be then? Try again. You learned to walk, didn't you? At some point in time. Do you think you just got up and walked one day and never fell down? How many of you think you fell down? You fell down, but you got up because it was important that you walk. Now you're older and you learn skills that are harder, or seems harder now. I suspect walking was pretty hard. I can't remember when I learned, but I don't think it was all that easy. I do remember learning to ride a bicycle, and I had an awful lot of busted knees before I was successful at that one. But I was determined to ride. And that's what it takes now, is the right attitude and determination to do whatever you set out to do. Productivity. What's meant by productivity? What you accomplish. How do you accomplish things? That's exactly right. We were just talking about you. That's how you become productive. You work. During that work, we want to follow safety procedures. Why are safety practices and procedures always important? What happens to us if we get hurt at work? We can't work. We're not productive anymore. So we lose time. Then our boss gets mad. Why is it important that we conserve materials in our work? That's considered productivity too. Save money. Boy, everything goes back to that thing, doesn't it? Money. If we go back there and I tell my students when they pour out shampoo, I say, get half as much as you think you need. Why do I say that? Save money. Are we going to have enough? Well, if we don't, we can get a little more, but if we got too much, we wasted it. And I get tickled. My little granddaughter's got real long hair, and her mama is very conservative. You know, and she's teaching her to conserve this sort of thing. And when I got her there and I'm washing her hair and all, you know, I'm just having a good time and just whatever, and she'll say, I want to put my conditioner on myself. And I say, okay. And I squirt some out. That is entirely too much. She's 6 years old and she's going to get on to me about giving her too much conditioner. Bosses like you conserving material because if you save money, they make more money. And what might they do with that money? They may give you a raise, but if you're wasting everything, you can forget a raise. Keep your work area neat and clean. Why is that important? Organized. Why keep all this mess on here that you're not going to use? Get it out of the way. It also makes you have more accidents when you got a lot of things around you don't need, because after a while you're going to knock one off in the floor and there's hardly room to put it back up there, so you leave it there, then it leaks and you step in it and slide down, or worse yet, your customer does. Follow directions and procedures. How many of y'all are really good at following directions? We'd all really like to think we are, but while we're going through work ethics at a point in time, I'm going to hand out a sheet that tells you how to follow direction, and it shows about 90% of people do not follow directions. Men never follow directions. Matter of fact, they don't read directions. Y'all ever heard that? A man's going somewhere and he's lost. He'll ride right round and round, drive 100 miles to keep from stopping and asking for directions. They don't need directions. They've drove 100 miles. They've got somewhere. Not where they were headed, but they're somewhere. But we need to follow directions carefully. I can give examples in cosmetology. I'm more familiar with that than I am with taking care of children, but it would be very important in child care to mix the formula right, wouldn't it? To read the label on the medicine. Do you think you're going to be giving children medicine on occasion? Sure are. You better know the difference in a teaspoon and a tablespoon. And in mine, y'all going to be mixing chemicals all the time in cosmetology, so you certainly don't, you want to make sure you get it right. Some of the chemicals are flammable. So you want to read directions, make sure you don't get it around that hot stove that's sitting there and all of a sudden you and your client both are in flames. So it's very important that you follow directions and procedures. Number 7 is organizational skills, and we've been hitting on it off and on the last 2 or 3, haven't we? About being organized. That means we manifest skill in personal management, time management. Why is time management important? It's more important in cosmetology than it is in child care. When they're taking care of children, the day's got to go by, right? And they can only have so many children by law. That's all they can keep. But there's no law keeping you from having 20 clients as opposed to 10, are they? Time is money in the beauty salon. Stress management is part of organizational skills. How does it fall under that? We've got to organize our day so that we have a little time for ourselves, so that we can deal with the stress we're faced with. Is that correct? If we don't organize, we're running around helter-skelter. We're getting more and more stressed, and we don't have time to be relieved from it. Also, dealing with change. I have found out that one thing is consistent here and in the beauty salon. What is that one thing? That it's always changing. It changes from day to day, from minute to minute, hour to hour. It's always changing. And some people do not deal with change well. They want everything to remain the same. We used to have a paper that was put out here every month or every quarter, and it was called the toilet paper. Because the only place it was ever posted was on the bathroom doors, and I just always loved it because you knew every upcoming event. It was posted on every bathroom door on campus, and I wonder sometime why we don't go back to it. But I remember one time there was, they'd always put some type of quotation at the bottom of it. That's how they ended it off, and they put one that said, if you always do the same things, you can always expect the same results. And oftentimes we're not happy with the results we're getting, but we're not willing to change anything to make those results different. So we have to adapt to change. Next is communication. Why is communication so important to employers? You don't get misled on anything. If you've got a gripe, does your employer want to hear it? You think not? If you've got a legitimate gripe, they want to hear it. They want to know what's going on. You're taking care of children. If this child, you're just not having any luck potty training him, does mama want to hear that? Yes, she wants to hear it. We've got to work on it a little harder. If you've got a client that's got dandruff, are you going to communicate that to them? Sure, they need to go to the physician and get some help for it. So you got to learn to communicate. If you've got a problem in class, do I want you to come communicate it to me or run hollering about it everywhere? Communicate with me. And while I'm on communication, I'm going to tell you about the chain of command around here. You're going to do things sometime that your instructor doesn't like. That's just putting two people in an atmosphere together. That's going to happen. Your instructor sometimes going to do things you don't like. You know what I'm saying? They're going to rub you wrong a little bit, give you too much to do, or do a little something. Maybe you might think they were a little snappish with you. So I want to tell you what happens in this situation. If you do something in my class, and I'm sure it's the same way next door, a little something that I thought you shouldn't have done or whatever, I'm not going to run out there and holler at you in front of everybody unless you've put some of my hair implements in your mouth. And I will holler across the room about that. You know. But if you've done something, I'm going to call you in. You and I are adults. Everybody in this room is adults. And I'm going to call you in and say, you know, I think maybe you shouldn't do that again, or call your attention to it or whatever. If I do something that you don't particularly like, or it hurts your feelings, or you thought I talked sharply to you, what should you do about it? You should come to me and talk to me about it. It's not going to do you any good to talk to the other students. They can't help you out. The next thing that students often want to do is go to Dr. Thornton, and that was him that walked in the door a while ago. Y'all noticed he didn't have a whole lot of hair.
What's your ears?
No. Well, I've been cutting on them. His ears, I mean. But lots of times they say, I'm going to get that instructor in trouble. I'm going to go tell Dr. Thornton. Well, his door is always open to you. I want to make that plain to you. But when you go to Dr. Thornton and talk to him about the problem, he's going to call the instructor in, whether it be me or Miss Lawrence or Miss Sapp or whoever, to find out what happened. But the very first question he's going to ask you is, did you talk to your instructor first? That's following the chain of command. And then when you say no, he's going to say why. There is instances when you may not feel comfortable with talking with your instructor, and when that is the case, you go to him. But I always know that the instructor's going to be called in, because we're going to work this thing out, you know, whatever it is. With me, I'd rather you just confront me head on, but if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then go to him by all means. So I want y'all to realize that is who you go to. That's what he gets paid the big bucks for. But do try to settle things with your instructor and put it in reverse. A while ago I asked you if you done something that I didn't particularly like. Do you want me to just go up there and tell him on you and let him call you up there? No. Then why would you do that to me or to Miss Sapp or to whoever? So think about what you're doing. And I'm telling you, this the same thing happens in the place of employment. If one of the other stylists, something's going on between you and her, is it best for you and her to try to settle it or go to the manager with it? You try to settle it. Y'all are adults. So communication is very important. In this department, the nonverbal communication may be more important than in other departments. What is nonverbal communication? Yep, that's one of them. Well, there's some others I'm not fixing to put on that camera, let me tell you. We had one, and I'm going to just give you a good example. I want y'all to turn around and look. That place is nothing but mirrors out there. And one mirror reflects off of another mirror, and the instructor can see that whole department out there simply by the reflection of mirrors. And I had a student that didn't particularly like one of my lab instructors. That lab instructor's not here, but she didn't leave for that. She got moved up the line into another school. And every time that instructor would walk by that student would go, that instructor seeing her in the mirror every time. Did that help relationships any? Not a bit. So be careful about your nonverbal. I'm getting nonverbal from y'all all the time. When I lecture, if you'll notice, I look all around because I want to see who's asleep, who's bored, who's confused. And when we get into other lectures, it helps me to know who's confused. I see confused looks. I want to bog down right here and explain this in more simple terms. So that's when nonverbal communication is a good thing. Give me that confused look. Let me know. Next is cooperation. What is cooperation?
Working together.
Working together. I ask you to take the trash bags this week to gather all them up, and it's not your week. Would that be being cooperative? Would I think about that when you come to me and ask me for a favor? That's probably the first thing that's going to pop in my mind, is that you cooperated with me when I needed you. And same thing between students, and I didn't mean that as an instructor-student interaction. I mean with anybody. We always need to be cooperative. Cooperation means that we display leadership skills. We also appropriately handle criticism and complaints. When I work the lab floor, and I do enjoy working out there, I find myself a bundle of complaints. You hadn't got your part straight. This side of the hair is longer than the other one. You got the wrong size rods in it. Is that fair to do that to you? It's very fair, because I'm not charging you a thing. When you go to state board and you make those mistakes, they're going to charge you $50 a trip. You understand what I'm saying? But sometimes I feel like I'm complaining all the time, but if I see something good, I'm going to say that too. So you have to learn to handle complaining. I don't know how many diapers y'all have pinned on. Some of you, I suspect, have put on a bunch of them, but I used to have a hard time putting diapers on children. And especially if they walk, next thing I know, there's no diaper. It's laying in the floor. So it takes practice to do that too, and it takes somebody to show you how to do it correctly. Demonstrates problem-solving capabilities. That's cooperation. That's meaning every little time your band doesn't fasten right on the wave rod, you don't run and get some help. You figure out how to make it fasten right. Maintains appropriate relationship with supervisors and peers and follows the chain of command, which we just went over. Number 10 is respect. This is the hardest one of all to define. What is respect? It's a strange thing, but what is it? Consideration to other people. We just talked about that in cooperation. But that is part of what respect is. What else is respect? Treating someone the way you want to be treated. That's exactly right. How do we learn to respect other people? By learning to respect ourselves. And also, respect has to be earned. We don't just march in the room and say, "You respect me." That's not going to get it, is it? We've got to act in a respectable manner whenever we expect to get respected. It's not something that's owed to us just because we're a human being. There's a lot of reasons I respect students. One of the main reasons is because one time I was right there. I know how it works. I know how difficult it is. I know how much courage it takes, and I know how much hard work it takes. So I respect you. Believe it or not, you've went through the hardest part of school, and that's making that step into this unknown environment to come here and go after what you want to do. So students actually do come to me getting my respect. Hopefully they act in a manner that they can keep it. And I respect myself, therefore I want you to respect me, and I want you to treat me like I want to be treated. That's why I'm going to always treat you like I would like to be treated. All right, do we have any questions? Y'all kind of understand how we're graded. Each 10 criteria is on a grade sheet. You have a 2 already in everything. When you come in your first day, you had a 2. It's up to you to take it higher. It's up to you if it goes lower. So look those grade sheets over. I know my students have them in a folder, and I'm sure she probably has them there available to you. Look them over. Be in the top 20%. I say across campus that cause rules, and my students are usually high achievers with things like that. We'd like to have some competition. So jump in there and see. And we've actually ruled because we're the biggest class on campus. Might be the main thing. But work for good work ethics. When you go in for an interview and they ask you to sign this paper for your transcript, they don't care if you made A's, B's, or C's in your academic work. You've got a diploma. You showed them you succeeded in it. So why are they asking for your transcript? They're looking for this work ethic number. I believe this program started in New York, and it's probably in all 50 states now. I haven't researched it lately. So know the importance of work ethics. All right? Do y'all have any questions? It was nice to have y'all over here. Thank you.